So Jeff, working with contractors. So now we've got started the claims process. We worked on mitigation. Actually at this point, we probably should already be in contact with a contractor. We've had the adjuster come out, do their assessment. Now we're going back and forth with the insurance company to get some final offers and basically approaching the contractors to finish to start the work. So what should a customer look for within a contractor? How can they basically mitigate the folks that are coming from out of state during the big claims, versus, some of the contractors that are just up and running. You get a business card, you get information, sometimes it looks all professional. How do they go about making sure that they're dealing with someone reputable that, they can pick up the phone and call and yell at if something goes wrong? How would you approach that as a customer?
So one of the big things that I've always told friends and family when they're having to deal with situations, even before I was in the space of being a contractor, it's even worse in today's world with how easy it is to set up websites, how easy it is to set up, especially Google Voice numbers. Because Google Voice numbers, you pick an area code that's local to where you're doing the work at and have it forwarded to a cell phone. But the hardest thing, especially with a company that's flying in from out of town, trying to make a quick buck, doing some repairs and then running, is getting like vehicles and trailers licensed, because they're not going to go through the time or the effort of changing their license to a local address. So look at the license plates on the vehicles and the equipment that they're bringing in. Are they advertising local numbers but have out of state plates? That's a big red flag of someone just trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah. And so, and then also just a lot of folks that are working from home nowadays. I mean, it used to be, do you have an office here locally? And so that's another thing that's even if you're, the most reputable contractor in the city, some of them don't have physical locations. A good amount of them do have an office location, but, and also just get some references. Do you have, what other projects are you working on in the city? And then do you have someone that I can reach out to? Even just a 5-minute phone call to a reference, I would imagine goes a long way. Would you say that's correct, Jeff?
Oh, absolutely. A reputable contractor is going to happily hand over phone numbers of clients that they've worked with and had very favorable history with. I personally believe that construction is as much about building relationships as it is about doing the construction. If you have a good relationship with your customer, things are going to go a lot smoother. You're going to have a much better review at the end. You're going to have a much happier customer. I had one customer, things went perfect and smooth all the way through the claim process, getting the money settled out. And then once we were in the process of ordering materials, suddenly her brother shows up and tries to take over managing the project and starts trying to tell her how to tell my client how to run the repair to her house and trying to change the terms of the contract.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, companies need to be able to, very few companies have cash on hand to front the cost of your materials. Expect to have a request of 30 to 50% upfront for the cost of materials. Now, it's definitely applicable and acceptable to say you want assuming the property is secured when no one's there. It's definitely applicable and acceptable to ask those materials to be delivered to the job site, assuming that they're not going to be in the way of progress, and 2, not going to potentially walk off. From my perspective as a contractor, If I'm holding material like in my office or in my warehouse and they walk off, it's on me. If I'm storing them at the job site and they go missing, that's on the job. It's been delivered. It's out of my preview. It's out of my control. And suddenly it's an additional cost for the homeowner because we have to replace those materials we've already ordered. But I'm going to work with the client and make certain that their wishes are met. But at the same time, especially when you already have a contract signed, don't let your family, family is great to, protect you, but don't let them get involved in your money. The money's coming to you from the insurance is not coming out of your bank account. And ultimately that is my main goal as a contractor, is to make it to where when you're in a situation of a major disaster, whether it's a freeze or a flood or a fire, my goal is that the only financial impact you have is your deductible.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's tough when you've kind of outlined a final outcome, a way to proceed. And then you have another, external factor come into the mix and then just reopen that same conversation. It can be, even especially during the claims process, when you're trying to do everything you can to speed it up, that's one factor that can come in and really, prolong the situation, once you have that contractor ready to build and start, doing the things that you originally said. So, I would say as a customer, if you have other decision makers that are in the process with you, bring them in very early on and make sure that they're in those initial conversations. So that's a good point that you brought up. So we've gotten contact with the contractors. We're working with adjusters. The carrier comes back with an unfavorable offer. So if they come back with a good offer, then, I think that's pretty much the rest is pretty much said and done. But if they come back with an unfavorable offer, I would imagine that there's some additional recourse that we can do. Jeff, this is kind of where you come into play and have some experience. So, I'm not going to be able to do it for that amount. Where do you go from there?
So insurance companies use a program called Xactimate for writing their estimate of damages. Xactimate is a great tool, but the downside to Xactimate is at best they update the values it's a cloud-based program, but at best they update the values of financial impact once a year. As we know in market conditions, material pricing, labor pricing, it can change on a minute's notice. Labor pricing especially goes through the roof when we have a major catastrophe in the area, and you might have 100 people available to do work, but you've got 100,000 claims. You've got a massive amount of pull with very little coverage to do it. And the big thing there is verifying skilled labor. For me, with my clients, I have what I call an insurance representation contract. What I ask them to do is I have them sign that form. I don't charge them anything up front other than having them pay their deductible. That deductible, I put that money in the bank. I don't touch it. That money goes towards their build back. But at the end of the day, what this insurance representation contract does is I fight their insurance company for adequate compensation without cost on the sole expectation that my company receives the work to do the build back, because we're putting a lot of time and effort in. I have had some clients where they come in and they have me do all this work, and then suddenly after they've got money, oh, we're going with someone else because they're cheaper. I'm like, wait, what? I just spent how many hours fighting for you, and you're not even going to provide any financial benefit to me. So you do have, it is a tight rope to walk, but is a benefit that I do, because there are some companies out there that they try to charge you $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 up front, just to sit down and fight and write paperwork and fight your insurance company.
Yeah.
And that's money that you never see again. So I look at it from a term of, I'm not trying to make money off of just getting you money. I'm trying to get you as much money as possible to put your home back in a condition it was before damage, utilizing current market pricing on materials. And the average I've been getting is about 3 to 4 times the insurance company's initial estimate of damages. I had one project where the initial estimate was about $17,000. We ended up settling at $53,000 with the insurance company. I had another project that was original estimate of $49,000. Unfortunately, they've had to bring attorneys involved, and we still haven't even been able to start the construction to rebuild their home after the freeze. And, this is a year and a half later, but the latest I've gotten is that we're, instead of getting $49,000, we're getting max policy payout of $188,000.
Yeah, and that's crazy, that we're still dealing with claims from that freeze, which brings me kind of the last topic here.
Chris, if I can just chime in real quick.
Oh, absolutely.
Jeff, a question.
Go ahead.
Jeff, so, on a claim that lasts that long and just keeps dragging, how does that impact, how do the market conditions impact the original price estimate, with labor going up and materials going up in that time frame? How does that going to impact you doing the work? Is it going to be more money that you're going to feel like that you're going to need for it, or is that going to stay kind of solid because you've already discussed the terms?
I've already discussed terms with the client. I'm going to do everything I can to keep the price where it's at. We may have to change. We may have to change manufacturers of materials that are being selected for the build back in order to keep the quality of which the customer is used to, but yet fit within the money that the insurance is allowed. Now, if say over the course of, in this claim, a year and a half goes by and material pricing has just gone to the point that we can't do the same amount of work, then we talk about, do you want to pay the difference because clients can pay whatever they want to for the repairs. But my goal is to, when it's a disaster claim, is to cover the cost of repairs solely with the insurance money.